Welcome to the Sportscast, November 11th, 2019. If you haven't yet, please subscribe in all our channels, YouTube, Periscope, iTunes. And if you're in iTunes, please leave a rating and a review. It will help us out tremendously. And visit us on thesportscast.net, thesportscast.net. This episode is brought to you by Insta Bible app. Read your Bible on your iPhone. Number 2 LSU ended an 8-game losing streak to his SEC West rival with a stunning 46-41 victory over number 3 Alabama under the lights at Bryant-Denny Stadium. For the first time since 2011, the Tigers have beaten the Crimson Tide, and it was a game that felt entirely different from the one these teams played the last time LSU beat Alabama 9-6. And to join us, we got a double-decker today, Justin Riley and Caillou Borden. Welcome to the Sportscast.
Glad to be here.
Thank you.
Wow, what a game, guys. It felt a very national title-esque type of game. It was a close one. It was only a couple points away from each other, but let's go with Justin. What were your thoughts?
Well, where do I start? Well, it was a tale of two halves. In the first half, it just seemed like that Alabama was just hell-bent and self-destructing, and that's exactly what they did. Had a nice opening drive, very promising opening drive, and looked like we were going to score off the bat, and lo and behold, freak thing happens. Tua fumbles the ball. LSU gets it, and then from then on, LSU is just as good as they are. We couldn't get out of our own way, and, of course, they capitalized on everything that we gave them. The highlight of the first half was Jalen Waddle's electrifying punt return for a touchdown off of a no-call face mask where he was nearly decapitated. But that was really the majority of the spark, other than a long touchdown where Devonta Smith just faked out the entire defense and raced down the sidelines. But like I said, the first half, Alabama just couldn't get out of their own way, mistake after mistake after mistake. It just didn't look like they prepared. Maybe a lot of that had to do with the fact that they hadn't played any opponents, worthy, up until this point. And they hadn't been hitting the mouth just yet, which was surprising, just knowing the caliber of team of LSU and that they were coming for them. I was kind of surprised that they came out like they did. Now, in the second half, it seemed like Alabama got themselves together. Tua Tagovailoa, with the help of Najee Harris, seemed to carry the team. And it seemed like for a minute there, we were headed right back, to the thick of things and had an opportunity to take over. The only problem is the defense couldn't get a stop. And one of the things I noticed the most was just poor tackling. It seemed like to me that the defenders were more focused on stripping the ball rather than making tackles. And some of those missed tackles resulted in some key first downs for LSU. So, but give it to LSU. They're the number one team in the nation for a reason. And this is the game that was a national championship for them. They need to have this game to get that monkey off their back and get to that elite level. But those were my main takeaways, without going into too much detail just yet of what I saw.
Before we head into Caillou, can you lower the TV volume and behind you?
Yeah, sure.
Of course, the game was back and forth, especially towards the end. You thought that Alabama were going to creep back up, and then LSU came back and scored. Caillou, do you think Alabama's defense just wasn't all there to combat LSU?
I think that Alabama's corners really struggled in this game. Jamar Chase really had a great game. Justin Jefferson had a good game. Thaddeus Moss made a really good, outstanding catch. I think it was more about LSU's offense. I think LSU's offense was really good. Joe Burrow did a great job on the opening drive, taking advantage of the Tua fumble and third and goal. From there, they scored 23 points in the second quarter. They did a really good job. Even when Alabama got back in the game in the second half, Joe Burrow, time after time, with his legs, with his arm, just continued to make plays.
Justin, Clyde Edwards-Helaire might have been one of the main stars of the game. What were your thoughts about his performance?
Man, absolutely tremendous. This guy just doesn't get enough credit. When we did our initial podcast at the beginning of the year to preview each conference, he's a guy that I mentioned, and I felt like it was going to be a key player for the Tigers this season. And a lot of people are kind of overlooking too, just because of how spectacular the wide receivers are. And it seems that they're an air first offense, and just not a whole lot of I guess spotlight was thrown at Clyde Edwards-Helaire. But this guy is serious, man. This guy's going to be an NFL back, and I think his performance was enough to really get the attention of NFL scouts to probably catapult him into maybe a first-round draft pick. But that guy was stellar, man. Whenever LSU needed a big play, first down, heck, a touchdown, he was the man, and he would not be denied.
Clyde Edwards-Helaire had 103 yards. Joe Burrow, Caillou, had 383 yards. Did he have a Heisman performance?
I think Joe Burrow with this game, I think if he continues to perform, I think he solidified Heisman. He was sensational. Obviously getting those 23 points in the second quarter. And even when Bama made that run in the fourth quarter, he really did a good job. He really set the tone at the entire game. He was amazing in the first half. He got even better as the game went on. He used his legs. He was terrific. 31 for 39, 393 total yards, 3 touchdowns, 91.9 QBR. He was sensational. He really did a good job. I thought like the receivers at LSU did a terrific job. Jameer Chase, 6 catches, 140 yards, 1 touchdown. Justin Jefferson, 7 catches, 79 yards. Edwards out of the backfield with a touchdown, 77 yards. Marshall Jr. did a great job. Moss with outstanding play. So the receivers did a great job. I felt like Alabama's corners also really let them down as well. Also, that could be a testament to who they didn't play this year. But Joe Burrow did a sensational job, and I feel like the Alabama corners did a terrible job at tackling, but the LSU receivers did a great job making plays after the catch, etc.
Tua Tagovailoa had 418 yards, Justin. He wasn't 100%. He was maybe 80% at best. You know, if he would have been 100%, do you think it would have been enough for Alabama to beat LSU?
It doesn't just fall on Tua. And, I have actually had this discussion with other people. It's amazing that at 80%, excuse me, at 80%, he was still able to throw for 418 yards and 4 touchdowns on one good leg. That accomplishment right there just kind of kept quiet. That's the quietest 418 yards we've ever seen, just because of the loss. He had a Heisman-like performance just because he was able to rise to the occasion and carry that team on his back. But to answer the question, would 100% Tua have made a difference? Probably so on a couple of those key mistakes he made. I think that if he had been 100%, he probably would have made better decisions. And he also would have been able to use his legs a little bit more. But the main thing, like Caillou said, and I'm saying, it falls on the defense. The defense just did not show up. And it looked like at times they were just lost and confused, because it looked like there were too many missed assignments. And like we both have said, man, poor tackling. And that just won't fly against an elite team. And the thing is, the things we saw against LSU were just magnified. But the truth be told, it's been going on all year. Sloppy play, penalty issues. It's been going on all year. The only reason why it hadn't been made much of a big deal is just because of the opponents we played, because we've been able to overcome those dumb mistakes and been able to win decisively. But that was because of the level of competition. Against the LSU, that stuff doesn't work, and you can't do that. You can't expect to beat an elite team making those dumb mistakes. Another thing too, that I have to mention, positive, is Devontae Smith. Man, he had over 200 plus yards receiving, and again, you really got lost with that just because of how the game turned out. But he is actually one of the most underrated wide receivers in the country, and he really showed just what he's all about in this past game. But yeah, to answer the question, it all don't fall on Tua.
There were certain plays where I thought that Tua could have ran for a touchdown, or maybe ran for a first down. Caillou, do you think if Tua was 100%, this game would have been completely different?
I think it would have been, but I hate to do that because it sort of takes credit from what LSU did. And I feel like David Christopher Aranda, the LSU defensive coordinator, did a terrific job at just really testing to his knee, at testing his ankle and seeing if it's at 100%. I feel like he really did a good job in the first quarter, especially sending a lot of pressure. Tua clearly wasn't right, but I feel like he got better as the game went on. 418 yards, as you said. Devontae Smith, 7 catches, 213 yards, 2 touchdowns. But I don't think it falls as much on Tua because he got progressively better, and he could have been, if he was more mobile, obviously he could have ran for more, and he would have been able to use his legs outside the pocket. But this game really falls on Nick Saban and the defense. They had 12 men on the field. They muffed the punt. Which could have been terrible. Tua had to fumble. He was well enough. I mean, was he 100%? No, but this game falls on the defense. He was more like 80%, but he still ended up having 418 yards. He still ended up distributing the ball to Devontae Smith, who had a great game, 213 yards, 2 touchdowns. Judy was solid, 71 yards, 1 touchdown. Ruggs, 68 yards. But this game falls on their defense. They had a lot of mistakes early in the game, and even when they tried to mount a rat, I feel like they were better with the penalties in the second half. But this game falls on their defense. Their defense, their corners really struggled all night against Chase Jefferson. Their defense really struggled. Tua played as well as he can play given the circumstances of his ankle, but this game falls on their defense and all those mistakes that they had. 12 men on the field, all those penalties that they had in the first half, false start penalties, which is very uncharacteristic for them, especially playing in Alabama. They've won 31 straight games in Alabama, but this defense falls on their defense.
Something to definitely look at. Obviously, the defense needs some correction as well. Just like what Tyler said last week, I think when you have an easy schedule and face the best team in the country, you get punched in the mouth. But Alabama only lost by a few points, Justin. Can they still keep the top 4 in the college football playoff poll?
Well, it's very conceivable that they can, but of course they're going to have to play solid the rest of the way out, and they're just going to have to let things fall where they may. But the thing is, now these voters have seen this one-loss Alabama, they're going to be tempted to push other people ahead of them. So the only thing Alabama can do right now is control what they can control, and that's beating Mississippi State, that's beating Western Carolina, and that's also beating a highly ranked Auburn team as well. But they have the ability to keep that top 4 ranking, but it really just depends on where the voters are and what they're really feeling. And, you know, is this the year where the voters are just hell-bent and pushing Bama out because they're Bama fatigued, or do they keep an open mind and just think the right way towards Alabama? We don't know, but the only thing I can say is Alabama's got to control what they can control and just let everything fall the way they fall.
Yeah, obviously Alabama has one more big hard game is Auburn. Obviously every game is hard according to Justin. Caillou, if you had to name your top 4 right now in the country, who would it be?
It would be LSU, very close second, Ohio State. Ohio State's the most complete team in college football, and I think they're the best team in college football, but I'd still have them at second because LSU's win over Bama is really impressive. They actually have 4 really good wins, so I would actually have them second. I would put Clemson third. And then the 4th, I would obviously think about Georgia, also consider Oregon's definitely in play for that. So the 4 would really be up for debate, but the top 3 would definitely be LSU, Ohio State, and Clemson. And the 4th would really be up for debate between Georgia and Oregon and a one-loss team. I think the 4th, you can have a debate about it. But I think the top 3 is non-negotiable.
Justin, is Clemson in your top 4, and is the 4th, could that be Georgia?
Well, my top 4 is a little bit different. I have to mirror, what he just said. I think LSU is clearly the best team in the country. I honestly believe that they're better than Ohio State. I think they're more of a complete team. I think that they have a much better quarterback with Joe Burrow, and I also think they have a much better back with Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Defensively, they're not quite elite, but I do think they're better than what Ohio State puts on the field. Well, Ohio State's going to be a close 2, Clemson in the 3, and I'll go ahead and put Oregon at number 4,
wow,
and then Alabama right behind them. And that's simply because Oregon at one loss has played a much tougher schedule, and the only loss they have was to a good Auburn team, whereas Georgia had a really bad loss to a South Carolina team. They just lost to Appalachian State this past weekend at home. So that's my motivation right there for putting Oregon ahead of the Georgia Bulldogs.
Orgeron obviously became the coach of the weekend. Obviously, surpassing Alabama was a big one. Looking at the scoreline, it wasn't too bad, Justin. 5 points, not too bad, but it's just the defense. Were they ill prepared? I mean, could Alabama's defense could have done better? Or you saw this coming from far away? Their defense was not good a couple of games ago.
I've seen it coming the entire season, to be honest with you. And I tried to make that point this past big podcast we had this past week, and Tyler tried to discredit me with some things. But a lot of the high rankings our defense does have was mainly because of things we've been able to accomplish against lesser teams. But the thing is, if you look at the game within the game and all the teams we played against, with the exception being New Mexico State, and maybe Duke, is that teams have been able to move the ball against us and with ease. Even mediocre teams like Tennessee, until Marr was hurt, were able to move the ball. Ole Miss was able to move the ball against us with relative ease, and they don't have near the talent that LSU does. But I just saw this coming. The defense has been a problem the entire year, and a lot of people can argue that you've got 5 freshmen starting on defense, but my rebuttal to that is we're 9 games into the season. Young is supposed to be disappeared, and maturity and growth is supposed to be going on. I haven't seen maturity and growth from that defense at all. A lot of the same mistakes are still there. People not being in the right spots. People seemingly lost and just not doing what they're supposed to do. And you can see that a lot. The linebackers in this past game were looking back at the sideline and looked like they had no idea what was going on and what they were supposed to do. And then it's poor tackling as well. Nobody's hitting anybody in the mouth. Nobody's being aggressive, going to a point of attack. It's like they're waiting on people to come to them, and instead of hitting them in the mouth, they're trying to strip balls, and then they're carried for 4 or 5 extra yards. But, this has been an ongoing problem all year. But, had Alabama not shot themselves in the foot repeatedly in the first half, it may have been a different game. You don't go into a heavyweight fight doing that and expect to go blow for blow, just showing up in the second half of the fight.
Caillou, is Joe Burrow your number 1 Heisman candidate?
Yes, and I agree. I would also like to disagree with his points. I did not see this coming, considering that Alabama allowed the most points since against the Nick Saban team since 2007. Judy dropped 2 touchdowns. Normally, it's uncharacteristic. Normally, like I said, I respect your points about how you've seen it coming throughout the season. But normally, a Nick Saban team at home, you've won 31 straight games at home. It's still tough. Even the competition, it's still tough. You won 31 straight games at home. You'll have 33 points at halftime. You had 2 drop touchdowns by Jared Judy. You have 12 men on the field. Normally, they're well coached. They don't make those same mistakes. And even though it's not as dominant as the Alabama team is in previous seasons, they're still a great team. And normally you don't see this type of penalties and unforced mistakes by an Alabama-led team, especially against a big team.
Well, I mean, yes. Are we not the typical Saban defense? No, but we do have some athletes out there, but they're just not catching on. They're not growing at the rate that you would think. And the biggest thing is, these penalties. Alabama ranks 110th in the country in penalties, and it's been going on all year long. And that's just, I don't understand if what's going on. And that is a big coaching no-no. That does fall on a coach. So my question is, why is that not being corrected? Why are these mental errors not being corrected? Because like I said, it's been happening every single game. It's just, you're not seeing it because they're not playing against elite opponents. But then when they play LSU, everything starts to come to light. But I just don't think that defense is quite there yet. Now next year, everybody's coming back, and it's going to be a different story. So I mean, we'll see. But for now, I just am not seeing it from the defense.
Something to definitely look at. Of course, they got Auburn next. Like I said, these committee members are winning the conference championship games really heavily this year. And as right now, LSU is going to represent the SEC West. The East is between Florida and Georgia, most likely Georgia. But we'll see what happens. We'll see how the other dice rolls. Caillou, Oklahoma lost against Iowa State 42-41. Was that not a good win, wasn't it?
They won, actually.
They won.
Yeah, they did, but it was just a 1-point win. It didn't look too sexy from the scoreboard.
Oklahoma's defense just continues to struggle. Jalen Hurts again played great, but for the committee, Oklahoma's gonna have a tough time getting in. They fell to 10. It's gonna be up and back. They're gonna need a lot of help to find their way. Oregon, Georgia, those teams should chop each other in the SEC, but they're still gonna have to win the Big 12 championship, and obviously hope that all those combinations fall. So it's still gonna be an uphill battle for them to get in. Nothing new. Jalen Hurts continues to play well, and their defense continues to really struggle and let teams get back in games.
Justin, is Oklahoma's defense worse than Alabama's?
I don't. I would say no, I don't know about that, but I would definitely agree that in these past two games, Oklahoma's defense has seemed to have reverted back to the way they were doing things this past year, which is not good. That defense cost them a game against Kansas State, and it turned around and almost cost them a game against Iowa State, a team that they really should have beaten a lot easier than what the score indicated. And that's not really looking good in the minds of the voters right now. So Oklahoma is going to have to get it together. A good thing for Oklahoma is, they still play, a ranked Baylor team, and then they're going to play a high-ranked team in their conference championship. So they could still have two good wins on their resume and a conference championship, which will help them. But they're going to have to do a little bit better and clean some things up if they really want to impress some people.
Caillou, can Oklahoma make it to the playoffs?
I think yes, because the Texas wins. I think they're ranked now, so that obviously helps boost Oklahoma, putting them in the top 25. And I also think having Alabama both lose and Penn State, so you had you won, Alabama lost, Penn State lost, and Texas won, which helps your best win. And you still have Baylor coming up. Plus, you still have the Big 12 championship game. So if you run the table, you get a combination of a Georgia loss, and maybe you get an Oregon loss or a Utah loss. Maybe you get one of those two things to happen. You get a Georgia loss or Utah loss, and you run the table. You're going to need a lot of factors, though, to break your way. Also, you need your defense to continue playing well because they know Lincoln Riley is a prolific offensive coach. But the committee is really looking at, is the defense can continue to play well? Because when they play Alabama last year, even though they don't do it based off last year, they look at our defense and it's still showing the same problems and no improvement. So we're gonna need those teams to lose ahead of us, and we're also gonna need to continue to play well and win the Big 12 championship game.
Justin, we got Oregon and Utah obviously together. They're kind of like handcuffed. If you were a fan, would you go for Oregon or for Utah to help out Alabama?
Well, it's going to have to be Utah, just because Oregon, they have a much better resume, and the only loss they have is against a good Auburn team, a highly ranked Auburn team, whereas Utah, lost to a bad USC team. So right now we need the Utes to run the table and knock off Oregon and get that Pac-12 championship. So, Alabama fans more than likely going to be pulling for the Utes at this point.
There you have it. Caillou, Utah, Oregon, who favors Alabama?
I think I definitely agree. You would have to root for Utah, because if Oregon gets in a one-loss Oregon team, I think they're definitely a discussion. They definitely will probably get the nod to get in over Alabama. So I definitely think if Utah wins, you can definitely have a considerable point for Alabama getting in with one loss.
Yeah, well, it's funny about Utah because I was kind of convinced early on. I think like their last game, which was against Washington, they were kind of struggling a little bit. But I think Oregon is definitely the strongest team in the Pac-12 as of right now. And of course, Herbert's stock is going up for the NFL draft. Same for Burrow. Tua's in the third place. Hopefully, he stays there, if not rise. Justin, we got Alabama has Mississippi State next. It's not LSU, and it's kind of a walkover. But what are your thoughts about that game coming up?
Well, one of the things that you have to consider is Alabama's coming off a big emotional game. Win or lose, after you play a game like that, it's hard to get back up the next week, especially against an inferior opponent or seemingly inferior opponent. So it can serve as a trap game. You just kind of wonder, is Alabama or Alabama's thoughts right now on just getting it all together and making an incredible run to try to finish the season and do their best to get into the playoffs, or are they going to feel sorry for themselves and kind of be ho-hum. But, yeah, this can be a tricky game for them. It's on the road. Mississippi State is a team that really doesn't know their own identity right now. Joe Moorhead has got a lot of a talent there. It's just that he doesn't really know what to do with that talent. They're a run-first offense. Colin Hill is probably the best running back in the SEC right now, or one of the best running backs in the SEC. He actually leads the SEC in rushing. He's just on a very bad team, and of course Alabama, their problem is right now is stopping runners. So it's going to be a hard time being able to limit Colin Hill. They don't really have much of a passing attack unless Stevens is in there. So it kind of falls somewhat in their favor right now. The biggest thing is Alabama's just got to be focused and just go in there and do what they got to do and get out, and hopefully without any kind of injury. So it could be a trick game, but it's all about the type of mindset that Alabama has right now.
You think we'll see Mac Jones play?
Well, if Alabama's doing what they're supposed to do, most definitely. We're favored by 21 points. I think that was the last time I saw the spread. But one would think, but don't ask Coach Saban that or you'll get chewed out. But I'm sure you'll probably see a lot of Mac, just kind of depending on where he is with his injury. According to Coach Saban, he's just experiencing a little bit of soreness, but nothing major. But he still feels very confident that Tagovailoa is going to be able to go.
Caillou, Oklahoma, plays Baylor this week in a big game, big matchup. What are your expectations?
I think Oklahoma's going to have to continue to win. I think it's going to be close, but I think Oklahoma's going to have to continue winning. I think it's going to be very close because their defense really struggles. But I think that playing Baylor is definitely an opportunity for Oklahoma, knowing that if they run the table, but they have to win this game, knowing that it's going to be a long shot to make the College Football Playoffs, but knowing that they're going to have to keep on winning. I think it's going to be very close for Oklahoma. So I think having the opportunity to play Baylor and get another statement win for Oklahoma and potentially move that needle to push it forward, I think is definitely huge to Oklahoma to continue to keep on winning.
Justin, Oklahoma will go against Baylor. What are your thoughts about that matchup?
Well, I think that Baylor, being undefeated is a good thing, but I just don't feel like that they really are an undefeated team. I just think they've been very lucky thus far, and just really hadn't shown me enough to where they could actually hang with Oklahoma offensively. I think that they'll be up and they'll be hyped, but I don't think they're going to have enough to beat Oklahoma and their athletes, and especially Jalen Hurts. He's the hardest working guy in the game right now. So I feel like he's going to lead Oklahoma to a victory.
Which Jalen is actually a Heisman candidate, you think?
Oh, absolutely. Without question.
According to our Sportscast Heisman rankings right now, of course, you can see that on the sportscast.net. Guys, anything else before we head into game predictions?
No, I'm good, brother.
Well, there you have it. Alabama LSU. It's what a dramatic game. I don't know if we'll see another game like this season, maybe for the national championship, but we'll see. We'll see. I don't think Alabama's out of the woods yet, but it's only fate with those committee members. You never know what they're going to look for. Anyways, let's start off Alabama at Mississippi State. Let's go with Justin.
Of course, I feel Alabama's going to win this game, and I feel like they're going to end up winning it, 35-6.
Caillou.
Yeah, I think Alabama's going to win along those lines. They really struggle against the SEC, and their quarterback is completing 55.1% of their practice. I think Alabama rolls, opportunity to just bounce back, put that loss behind you, and just try to hope for the best and hope that you get help from the other teams. So, Alabama.
Indiana at Penn State. A Penn State that lost to Minnesota Gophers.
Well, I guess I'll go first on this. It kind of depends on what Penn State's mindset is right now because, that was just a horrible way to go out, especially, when they're undefeated and they're primed to possibly, take down the great Ohio State. So you just kind of wonder, where's their mindset, and do they feel like that they still, they're not out of the talk, which they're not out of the talk yet. they can still bounce back, beat Ohio State, go to the Big Ten championship, win that, and they're right back in the playoff conversation. They have that kind of mindset, then they'll be all right. But they may feel a little bit dejected. And Indiana is a kind of one of those tricky teams, one of those trap teams. And if you don't watch yourself, you can get beat. But I feel like Penn State's going to win it, but it's not going to be a pretty one. It's going to be very low scoring.
Caillou, Indiana at Penn State.
Yeah, I think if Penn State has the right mentality, I think that they should win in the close one. I think coming off that week last week, it was really tough for them. So I think they definitely look forward for James Franklin and them to bounce back this Saturday.
Florida at Missouri. Justin.
Florida wins. I think they continue to bounce back after that Georgia loss. And, they have still a lot to play for this season. So I'm going to go with the Gators.
Caillou.
Florida.
Kansas at Oklahoma State. Justin.
I'm going to go and call the upset and go with Kansas. The Fighting Les Miles. So I'm going to go with that.
Will Caillou go for the upset?
I'm going to stay with Kansas.
Kansas. Michigan State and Michigan rivalry. Justin, who you got?
Michigan's a team on the rise, whereas Michigan State just doesn't really know who they are right now, and they just blew it against Illinois. So I'm going for the Wolverines here.
How about you, Caillou?
I'm going to stay with the Wolverines and by 2 touchdowns.
Wisconsin and Nebraska. Caillou.
Wisconsin.
Justin.
Wisconsin.
Navy and Notre Dame. Justin Riley.
The Irish, but Navy makes things difficult for them.
Caillou.
Notre Dame.
Ohio State at Rutgers. No, I saw that. No, let's skip that game. We know who's going to win it. There's no question. New Jersey never wins. Georgia at Auburn. Big game. Big matchup. I think Justin needs Auburn to beat Georgia.
An Auburn victory definitely helps Alabama's strength of schedule argument right now, because that'll definitely boost the Tigers up in the rankings. This really could go either way. Just hadn't really seen a whole lot of fire out of Georgia offensively lately. Defense, they're lights out, but just not seeing a whole lot of fire offensively. And they just kind of were, middle of the road this past week. But then again, they could just be looking, forward to Auburn. It's going to be a tough one, man. This is one of the oldest rivalries, but I think Georgia ends up winning this one just because they have a little bit more going for them offensively.
Caillou, please say Auburn.
No, I'm actually going to go Georgia, and I'm going to go Georgia by a field goal.
Interesting. I'm going for Auburn. I'm just saying it right now.
Well, I'd like Auburn to win, but yeah.
This could possibly be Clemson's hardest game of the season, Wake Forest, and Wake Forest comes to Clemson. Justin, who do you think will take that one?
I think it's going to be a fun game, but ultimately, man, the Clemson Tigers are going to win. I think their foot's on the gas right now.
Caillou?
I'm going to go with Clemson and by a lot, because even though it's one of the toughest games, Clemson never really plays nobody, and I think that if Clemson's really rolling right now, they have a favorable schedule, obviously being an ACC. Clemson by 4 touchdowns.
Texas at Iowa State. Justin?
This could go either way, man. They're both, they're both good teams. I feel like Iowa State is a little bit better. They're able to hang with Oklahoma, and I really don't feel like their record gives them enough props like they should be getting, so I'm going to go with the Cyclones in this one.
Caillou, Borden?
I'm going to stay with the Cyclones.
Iowa State wins. Minnesota at Iowa. Justin?
Oh, this is going to be a tricky game for the Gophers, man. Iowa's not bad at all. They're a really good team, especially on that defense. So we're going to find out if Minnesota is the real deal here. However, I'm going to go with the Hawkeyes in this one.
Wow. Caillou, are you going to say Minnesota?
I'm going to go with Minnesota.
Now, Minnesota had a huge win against Penn State. How high do you think they can go by tomorrow night? Justin?
Maybe 10th, maybe 11th. They don't really have
that
a
low
resume to really boost.
Wow.
They beat Penn State. Other than that, they hadn't played anybody else. So I just don't see them going much. I say they hover in the neighborhood between 7 and 11.
Caillou?
Yeah, I say between I say between 9 and 13.
Interesting. I guess I was shooting for 7th, but that sounds bizarre for some people. But anyways, LSU at Ole Miss. Will LSU continue the streak, or will they choke? Justin. Hello? Caillou?
I think LSU has too many things rolling for them. Obviously, coming off the win against Alabama, beating Nick Saban, who now has the most losses in the AP, 1936, by top 2 team, 4. I think LSU keeps rolling. Joe Burrow was great. He's going to continue his Heisman. Edwards, 3 touchdowns, 103 yards. Chase is great, 140 yards. I think it's just the opportunity for LSU to just keep rolling.
Justin, are you still there?
Oh, yeah, I'm here.
LSU at Ole Miss. Who you got?
Well, this is actually a big rivalry game. If you're, not in the state of Mississippi or Louisiana, you know nothing about this rivalry. These teams actually hate each other. It's really funny is that anytime they sing the national anthem in either stadium, at the very end they say, "Go to hell," and say the other team's name.
Wow.
That's how much the hatred goes with this. Ole Miss is probably going to be up for it, but to be honest with you, LSU is too good, and I think they may be a little flat, after this big victory, but they won't be too flat. They're still going to win by 2 touchdowns.
Wow. Oklahoma at Baylor University. Caillou.
I think Oklahoma needs this to continue to keep winning. I think also they probably need to get some style points because Baylor, very thing. Their defense obviously has taken a step back. Obviously, in the first 3 weeks, their defense obviously can check them ready to play. I think it's going to be more of a project Oklahoma's defense. Look for them to keep building. Last year they were 100th. This year, even though they're better, they're still not all the way there. So, but I definitely think that Oklahoma's defense will play better this game because, they have to. They have to start showing something if they want any slim hope of getting in the college football playoffs. Really, really slim. But if they want any slim hope, Jalen Hurts is going to continue to play well, and we know what Lincoln Riley's offense can do. So I definitely think that they continue to win this game, but I think I'll be watching for how well our defense plays.
Justin Riley.
Yeah, all eyes are definitely on the defense, especially after these horrible performances in these past 2 games here. So all eyes are going to be there. Offensively, I'm not worried at all about what they're able to do because obviously the CeeDee Lamb, Jalen Hurts show is one of the best on earth, and there's really no stopping them. They just try to limit them, and I don't think Baylor has the horses to do that. And I think Jalen Hurts ends up having another 350-yard passing day and rushes for 100 yards, and Baylor wins.
Baylor. Wow. Interesting.
No, sorry. I didn't mean to say it. Oklahoma.
Anyone could pick Baylor. They're 12th, right, Caillou?
Yeah.
UCLA at Utah. Caillou, who do you got?
Utah.
Justin Riley.
Utah will win, but they should win by a lot, but they have a way of making games closer than they should be, but Utah wins.
And finally, Arizona at Oregon. We'll start with Justin.
I believe this is Oregon's game. Oregon just continues to build and build as they get closer to the Pac-12 championship and definitely show the community why they're deserving of possibly being that 4th spot coming up, like I predicted earlier in the show. So I'm going to go with the Ducks in this one.
Caillou Borden.
Oregon wins, and Justin Herbert throws 4 touchdowns.
Justin Herbert. Is Justin Herbert your top Heisman candidate, Caillou?
No. I have obviously a couple people ahead of him, Chase Young, Joe Burrow, but I definitely think he's like that 3 or 4 to 4 to 5 range. I definitely will admit that.
Justin Herbert be the top quarterback in next year's NFL draft?
Yeah.
To be honest with you, I feel like the way things are going, and like we talked about this past week, everybody is infatuated with the new kid on the block, and that this year is Joe Burrow, and with good reason. The man is just unbelievable. I think he's going to be the first quarterback taken. But logically, I would say Justin Herbert is the more proven, and he I think will be a better quarterback long term in the NFL. I'm not high on one-hit wonders like Joe Burrow is, because usually at the quarterback position, if you're a one-hit wonder, you really don't end up progressing in the NFL. Burrow may prove me wrong, but I feel like he's going to be the first quarterback taken.
Caillou, you agree with that?
I sort of disagree, but I kind of agree because I don't think that I think teams now, they look to project more with Joe Burrow. Obviously, you can say that he's only done it for 1 year, but I think a lot of teams will look to project. People said that about Kyler Murray. He was everything. Obviously, teams will prefer to have the quarterback that's 6'5", but for me, like, it really depends. If you see what you see in Joe Burrow and your team like the Miami Dolphins, who really haven't had a quarterback, I think you really got to go into it with an open mind. Obviously, Justin Herbert's really good, but I think it depends. I think, obviously you would prefer to have the size and intangibles and the results over the course of a long period of time because that's more sustainability. But Joe Burrow, it could not just be that he's 1 year wonder. This could be really, something that he can build on going forward, obviously being Alabama.
Something to definitely look at. A lot of football to be played. Random question, who is your favorite Golden Girl, Justin Riley? The choices are Bea Arthur, Betty White, Estelle Getty, or Rue McClellan.
I love your random questions of the day, man. Gotta go with Estelle Getty, man. I feel like she was the heart of that show. Hilarious. Whenever you needed the perfect one-liner, she was there to drop it. Just too funny, man.
Caillou, I know it's 30 years before your time, but who you got?
I was about to say.
I really don't have one.
Well, I chose Betty White. She's tied with Rue McClellan, 33%. Estelle Getty and Bea Arthur are tied for 17%. I've never seen the results tie, both ways. So it's interesting what to do. There's only 13 more hours left to vote, so we'll see how things end up. Tomorrow's random questions will be interesting, but both of you guys will not be on, so we'll see what Victor says about it. Of course, a lot of more football to play. I'm looking at Georgia and Auburn. That game might be the biggest game of the weekend. Some may say Arizona and Oregon. But, looking at football, there's a lot to be played. Tomorrow night, poll number 2 of this year's college football playoff will be released. So we'll see how things turn. There is some chatter. Alabama could be in the top 4, but there's, some chatter that say they're not. Maybe 5th or 6th place, but hey, they only lost by 5 points, right, Justin?
They did, but win would have definitely made things a lot easier for them. But
yeah,
like I said, man, Alabama just has to control what they can control, and that's win out, and then win out impressively, and then just hope things fall the way they should. Definitely need to continue to cheer for LSU and cheer for the Utes for sure.
Of course. A football player died today. Charles Rogers. He died at 38. Yeah. No one knows exactly what happened. Some people are speculating he had cancer or had a liver ailment. But due respects to his family, great football player. Do you remember him, Justin?
Well, I remember him in college. He was a phenomenal player at Michigan State. He was a first-round draft pick, but he also was one of the most notable busts in NFL draft history. It just never quite translated for him at the pro level. But, phenomenal college player. I'm not going to take anything away from him. And I know he was troubled at times from the things I've read in the past, but it's just 38 is a young age to die at, man. So, yeah, definitely prayers and good thoughts for his family and loved ones.
Before we go, I know both of you guys really appreciate this. We'll appreciate this. Lamar Jackson had one fantastic couple of weeks. He beat the Bengals yesterday. Him and the Ravens beat the Bengals yesterday. Lamar had 223 yards, 3 touchdowns. Caillou, is he the MVP candidate for you so far?
I think Lamar Jackson is definitely in the conversation. They're obviously the second seed. They're winning the division. They're going to win the division. I think him or Russell Wilson right now. I think Russell Wilson's really putting together a terrific year, even better than his numbers last year. So I think it's between right now. It's very fluid, but I think it's between him and Russell Wilson for the MVP. But Lamar Jackson has been sensational, especially that move that he made over the Bengals. That was a terrific move.
Justin, is Lamar Jackson in your MVP book?
He is definitely on the rise right now, and definitely worth the consideration. To me, it's just how does he finish? I'm a Ravens fan, so this is quite a big deal for me. We've won 4 in a row or 5 in a row now. One of those most notable victories being against the Patriots. So we're a team on the rise. I'm pretty excited about what our future holds. So, yeah, for now, I'll say he's definitely in the conversation. But let's just see how he finishes, man.
One more prediction, guys. I totally forgot I missed this game. Fell through the cracks. Seahawks and Niners. Caillou, who you got?
I think this is going to be really very important, especially in the NFC. Obviously, being as stacked the NFC is with the Vikings, Green Bay, the 49ers. This game is really, really the NFC is stacked 1 through 6. It's stacked. This game is really going to be tough, but I think the Seahawks are definitely going to get this win. I think Russell Wilson's going to really just help his MVP case. It's a really good team in the Niners, considering what the pass rush they have, Nick Bosa, and their front seven. It's really very formidable. Jimmy Garoppolo, Kyle Shanahan's their coach. So I think that this opportunity for him to really get another statement win and catapult his team. And don't rule him out of the NFC West, especially if they win today. The Niners will now have 1 loss. The Seahawks are on the rise with 8 wins if they win today. So this is definitely a huge game for both teams. I think Seattle definitely wins this game.
Caillou, will the Niners have their first loss tonight? I mean, Justin, will the 49ers have their first loss tonight?
No, sir. I'm rolling with the Niners. They're the hot team right now, and I think they continue the winning ways. The Garoppolo men will continue to do what they do.
Something very exciting tonight, Thursday Night Football, 8:15 p.m. Eastern. Caillou, what is the best way to reach you to talk to you about Oklahoma?
Monday Night Football and at Caillou Borden 12 on Twitter.
Justin, what is the best way to reach you? Talk about Alabama's hopes in the playoffs.
At 12-1 training, that's number 12, 1 spelled out training, both on Twitter and Instagram. I also am one of the main contributors to our Sportscast Twitter and Instagram account, so you can find me on any of those, so feel free to reach out.
Another podcast topic, people are saying on Twitter that this is it for the Nick Saban dynasty in Alabama. I mean, people are just
it comes out every year. It comes out every time that he has a loss. You can't will a dynasty to be over. You can't will a coach out. Just so, let them chatter, and then they're only going to be disappointed when Alabama gets right back where they're used to.
Anyways, guys, it's been a pleasure having you guys two on a time a double header type of sportscast. I want to give it a shot, but definitely nice to have you, Caillou. I appreciate you coming on.
Thank you.
And Justin.
So much.
Glad to be here, man. Thank you.